With it being Valentine's Day, Liam's parents, they go out to dinner and they left a note saying that they were going to stay at like a hotel. So they have the house to themselves. But she also has to get her punishment, but which kind of made her mad because it was Valentine's night. She had bought this lingerie, she had this whole thing. So they had told her to be naked, go down to the dungeon, but Rain's got to do something. So she kept on what she wanted to wear for them. And they were just like, you just gotta do, you just gotta just not listen. So she gets her punishment, winds up being, he breaks out the whip, and she tensed up, but she didn't say anything. And they kept saying to her, your word is Paris, that's your safe word. So if at any time it gets too hard for you, you say it. Well, when he hit her, he didn't make it painful for her. But afterwards, he had told her the fear that she felt, that was the same fear that he had when he came home and she wasn't there. Um, uh, she really couldn't agree to what they were trying to make her promise, which was, you are never going to put yourself in harm's way. And she was like, I mean, I'm not going to promise you that I'm not going to do it again. Because if there's a way that I can help you, I'm going to do it. So why is it okay for you to accept help from your lawyer, but if I try to help you, it's not? She said that doesn't make sense. She's like, you, Liam, and this baby you all are my life. And you're trying to tell me I'm not supposed to do anything. She's like, that doesn't work for me. And sometimes, his logic to me is just trash because they just kind of seem to have this way. It's like they want to protect her so bad till it's like, what's the word? It's crippling to her, I feel sometimes. She's not a baby, she's not a child, but they try to treat her like one. Like she's just so fragile and we just have to protect her from everything. But yet you want to fuck her like she, you know, can take all the dick in the world. So that's why I'm like, y'all gotta chill. Y'all gotta really chill. Because the fact that she is still standing after everything she's been through, she should have been had a mental breakdown. I'm surprised her brain has not collapsed. Like, seriously. So she's able to take a hell of a lot more than you all give her credit for. You'll say she's strong, but the minute something happens, she's not strong enough to handle that. Like, it's their first response. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, after that, they have their nice hard fuck session. They kept making her, they kept edging her. So they kept making her hold it. And then eventually they let her come. Next day, they go to the cemetery. It's rough for her. She is wrecked with all kinds of emotions. All type of memories are coming back. It's a lot. River comes in his big black truck, and he was more stoic. He wouldn't allow himself to cry, but she could definitely tell he was affected. He apologized to her again. He's like, if I'd have known what you were going through and what was happening in the house, like, I would have came back to get you out. But maybe he thought he would. Well, you got to remember, I guess he was only beating up on River, right? He wasn't beating up on Rowan, because according to Rain, he didn't start messing with Rowan until after, I want to say it's after River left. When she turned 13, that's when he started messing with her, with Rowan. So he didn't know the extent of everything going on. And if he was just, messing, beating up on River, and River never saw him beat up on the girls, he probably thought they're safe, right? Like, he's not going to hurt them. They're safer. And didn't realize they weren't at all. Um, so it's kind of sad because you still knew Rowan existed. Well, as far as he knew Rowan existed, I don't know. I just feel some type of way about River because I just kind of feel like You knew Rowan, you didn't know she was dead, and you knew you still had two sisters, but you never came back. Or was the threat, if you come back, I'll kill you? Maybe that was the threat, but he didn't really say that. But being that who that father was, it makes sense of why he would want to keep the only protector they would have had away from him, so he could do it as he wished. We'll say that. I don't know, because otherwise, I just feel like he still should have came back to check up on him. But anyway, um, it's a cruel reality that they have to deal with, and her brother hugs her, and hopefully she can have her brother in her life again. But again, if he cuts up, she'll cut him loose. It's nothing like she's not desperate to have him in her life, but he definitely wants her to know he's going to be there. So I guess he's going to try to do and be a good brother. We'll see. We'll see. Rain's not able to sleep. Liam isn't either. So Liam takes her downstairs. His dad's up. He's talking to one of Liam's siblings. Liam gets on the phone and talks to one of his sisters. And then they let him know, they're happy for him and everything. They can't wait to meet Rain and the baby. So then Duncan, who is Liam's dad, and Rain are talking, and she starts to feel uncomfortable because you got to remember, her with a father figure, she doesn't know that dynamic. She doesn't. And Liam was there to kind of calm her down. And Duncan told her, listen, I know what happened to you, and I'm so sorry. You should have never had to experience that. And that helped her, and they just had a really beautiful conversation. Bryn comes in, and she's talking to Rain about, you know, how her mother and sister, they found each other, they found peace, they're happy for her, all this type of stuff. So Rain goes up to bed, and the mom Bryn says, when you finish with her talking to Liam, come back down. So that means some shit's going down. And Liam had felt like something wasn't over. Sure enough, talks to his mom, and she says it's not over with. They're determined to get him. So you have got to be strong. She says you can still have a happy ending, but you all have got to stick together. So when the morning comes, Liam talks to Mason, and they're still trying, they're trying to figure out who this could be and all this type of stuff. Well, then he gets a call from his attorney, Sterling, and we find out this shit is escalated to the FBI's involvement. They're coming to arrest him for purchasing a minor for the purpose of sexual exploitation, and they're going to search their home, and they're going to search Shadows. So, sure enough, Rain wakes up, and they're taking him. And she starts wilding out, and Liam's like, you have got to calm down. You have got to be strong. This is hard enough on him. And if you doing all of this, it's not going to make it any easier for them. And that makes her calm down. Now, I will say on that one, Liam was right. He's going to jail. But if you spazzing out and doing all kind of stuff and he can't do anything, you already know he has a control issue. You are not helping the situation. So you got to get this shit in check. On top of the fact, you've got a fucking kid in the oven. Okay? So to Mason, it feels like when he looks back, this could be the end. Mason's locked up. His lawyer Sterling comes to see him. He's not going to get out basically until Monday. There's video from the November 4th. Looks kind of grainy, but we don't know if it's been altered, but that shit does not look good. Um, if the feds can't get him, the state has already stated they're going to pick him up for rape. So they want him something bad. They are actively trying to get him. So he's thinking River didn't recant his story. But what it was, Sterling told him it was just too little too late. Once the ball got rolling, that was it. So he did recant. It just didn't work. Um, when he asked what kind of time is he looking at, 30 years. is what he's looking at. So he's despondent at this point, to say the least. So sure enough, people show up, search, they leave. Um, they had to hurry her up to put clothes on. Rain. They take her to this little. It's a burger joint that serves breakfast as well. So they take her there. She eats a little. Um, he's concerned, of course. Liam is that she's gonna leave him. She has made a comment in the past that if she can't have both of them, she'll be alone. So he is terribly afraid if Mason goes away, out the door goes Rain. He doesn't vocalize this to her. Um, he just takes her on a walk on the beach, just the two of them, so they can have a moment. The parents stayed back, and he kept telling her to scream. She didn't want to do it. She was being real sassy because Liam's always very loving to her, right? She doesn't realize he can be a son of a bitch as well, and he had to kind of turn that part on. And finally, she screamed. She let it out. She did feel better, and she wound up passing out afterwards. So they took her back home. The house was a mess, but thankfully she was asleep because she would have wanted to try and clean it up right then. And when she does wake up, first thing she asks is, have we heard from him? What have we heard? And he says nothing. We're just waiting on a call from Sterling. I've got the money. We'll get him out as soon as we get the call. Um, he told her, strip, get in the tub. He's trying to take her mind off stuff. They wind up fucking. And he finally voices the fear, okay? And while they're fucking is when he does it, because he's like, you're not leaving me. You're not going to take our baby. And she's like, I would never do that. And he was like, at the lodge, you said you would. And she's like, no, I would never do that to you. I need you. I need you. I love you. And all this type of shit. So I was happy at least he did say something. It was during sex, but shit, you say it when you say it, I guess. Okay. Um, a book or two ago, he wouldn't have said nothing. He just would have spazzed out and just done something stupid. So it is what it is. He had also told her, like, he just hunt her down to the ends of the earth if she tried to leave him. And I said, I'm done. It's the next day. They wake up, and Rain, of course, is trying to figure out a way to help. She came up with the idea that once Mason gets out on bond, him and Liam should flee the country, and then once she has the baby, she'll join him. And he's like, how is that gonna work? Like, the FBI is gonna be watching you, and if we leave here, we'll never be able to come back. And you really think we're gonna leave you with a baby alone? And so she's like, well, it was just an idea. So Beck and Seth are gonna come, and they're gonna put their heads together, try and figure out something. And her brother apparently is gonna come too. So again, at first Liam was like, no, but again, he caved in. Cause again, stop. You know? Just stop. What did he do? He was messy as fuck. Okay? So they had this nice, hard, loud fuck, right? And then they go downstairs and everybody's down there. And River's knuckles are white because he just heard his sister getting fucking plowed. Okay? So it's just like he knew what he was doing. And it's like, stop trying to make this shit worse. Like, I don't care. No one, you do not want to hear your sibling fuck. No one does. Okay? It's fucking weird. Even if they haven't seen each other in eons of years, no one wants to hear that shit. But he petty, and I just can't help it. So they're going through a whole list of names, and Bryn tells them it's a woman who's been scorned that's involved. And they're thinking and they're thinking, and I don't know, like, is River still a part? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out who exactly this is. Um, could it be the Marley chick? Because remember, she was pretty pissed off because she felt entitled to Mason. Like, she felt like he should be hers. Like, that should be a no brainer. But would she go to this extent? I don't know. Because these are some pretty heavy fucking charges that they're trying to hit him with. And you going to send him away for 30 years because he ain't want you? That's a little insane, but I don't know. People do crazy shit. But they threw around different names of women, and it, started to piss her off because, she's having these memories, all these bitches he fucked over the years. But it's also cementing in River's head that, he was fucking other people. He was not fucking with your sister, like, at all. That just started some months ago. It is the date of the arraignment. Of course, the AUSA wanted to have the bail, bail denied, but it didn't work. The judge said it's $1 million. So Liam's filling out the paperwork. They got to put up 10%, I guess, up front, and then put up collateral. So Mason said, "Well, just put up the place in San Juan. It's a condo. That should be enough." And she kind of, Rain looked, kind of like, what? Because she knew nothing about that. And I'm like, here you go again. Y'all want her to know y'all want to know everything about her, but y'all don't want to tell her everything. Then, of course, when they left the jail, a bunch of reporters are out there and they're saying all kind of mean and cruel things. It was pretty awful. So that night, she thought they were going to have dinner together, that they were going to spend the night together, all three of them, but Liam's going to take his parents out because Mason wants to talk to her and tell her everything. So Liam leaves, and while she's cooking some stir fry, he talks. And we find out some backstory. And I was so happy because I was like, God damn it, if they didn't give us the backstory, I was going to be so pissed. So, he comes from insane, nasty, filthy money, okay? Like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think he might even be worth $1 billion. He comes from a lot of money. So his grandfather basically hit a lick a couple times in the tech world, and they made incredible money from that. So his father just wanted to spend money and do whatever he wanted to do. Didn't have any work ethic, didn't want to do that. He doesn't have any, he didn't have any ambition. And then he found a woman who wanted to do the same thing that he did, just spend money and live life, okay? So they get married, they have Mason. They still wanted to party and travel the world and do their thing. And so they would leave him at home with the staff, right? So when he got 15 or somewhere around there, he was a teenager. It could have been a little earlier, a couple years earlier. He got sent to boarding school in New Hampshire, and he didn't like it. Um, he felt like he didn't have control, and I go, boom, that's where it comes from. So you don't have your parents, you're not at home, you're off at a school you don't want to be in, you don't have control. So that's where these fucking issues come from, his lack of control. So then when he was 15, he got a nanny named Lynette, and he was in love with Lynette. And then one night, he saw Lynette and a guy named Tom who worked at the house as well. He saw them doing BDSM. Now, he had no idea what that was. He just saw her tied up. He saw Tom with the whip. She was crying out in pain, and yet she was having multiple orgasms. So he winds up jacking off so much watching this scene, he jacked off until he couldn't jack off anymore. Well, he made a grunt, and Tom heard him. But Tom just kept on fucking, Lynette. So then the next day, Mason goes to Tom to have a conversation about what he saw. And Tom tells him about BDSM. Keep in mind, this little boy, he's fucking 15. Okay? Then they start letting him join in on their fucking sessions. So you got a grown woman, grown dude, and a 15-year-old. And so this would happen every summer. They would fuck Christmas break, Thanksgiving. Anytime he came home, they were fucking. Okay? So this happened for a couple years. So then he hit 18, there was no more need for a nanny. So Lynette, you know, was let go by his parents and Tom as well. And he never heard from them. They left. And it messed him up because he thought they were like this couple. They were in this relationship. And he didn't realize he didn't mean as much to them as they meant to him. So she, of course, Rain's sitting there thinking like, bitch, you was 15. They were taking advantage of you. No wonder you're so distorted on the way you see shit, you know? So anyways, when he was 19, he was away at Harvard. His parents were in Spain at some celebration. The balcony fell and they fell to their deaths. So at 19, he's got to fly to Spain, identify their bodies, set up their funerals, settle the estates, all this shit, and now he has access to an unlimited amount of money. Okay? Now they wanted him to go to Harvard. He didn't want to do it. So when they died, he dropped out. He bought this like huge penthouse in Tribeca. He spent his days going to the gym, and then at night he would go to BDSM clubs, taking on as many subs as he wanted. Well, then that got boring. And then he signed up for some classes at Columbia University, and that's where he met Juliet. Now, Juliet, um, how did he put it? Um, she kind of just represented. He wanted a family, right? He grew up not really having that around. He found these dysfunctional forms of it, like this sex relationship with these adults, you know, these bonds that shouldn't have been. Okay, um, he wanted a family. He didn't have that, and this is where Juliet comes into play, and they got married. He was what, 25, and I want to say she was like probably like 21 or 22, something like that. So then she let him know, Rain did, that she knew about the baby and stuff like that. Liam had told her, and he was like, well, good, because that was going to be super hard for me to admit about it, you know. He also admits to her that he did lie when he told her, remember that original night when she sucked him off? He woke up and he told her she wasn't ready for what he could do, and then he fucked her that night, and then the next morning he told her he needed a slave. He said he lied to her when he said that to her. He said he treated Juliet that way because he got off on having complete control over her. She would do anything he said, and he got off on that control. It's not that he needed it, but he got off on it. Because I honestly was like, if he thinks that's who Rain is going to be, he in for a rude awakening. He should have been just left her alone. Because that's just not her personality. She loves to please, but not in that form. That's another level of control that wouldn't work. Because like the way he had Juliet, she couldn't even put on a sock if he didn't tell her to. Like, it was another level. But that's almost like a game for someone too, right? Like, I want to see how far I can push you. I want to test you. Which I don't like people that do that type of shit, because I think it's trash. Um, to push people to their extremes. It's just, are are we in the army? Like, what are we doing? You you know what I mean? So, as he's telling the story, he was worried she was going to look at him differently, that Rain was. And she's like, I don't look at you differently. She's like, if anything, it helps me understand why you are the way you are, because some things didn't make sense to me, and hearing this helps me understand. And she says, we'll get through this one day at a time. We'll get through it. After he tells her everything, he does feel like this embarrassment. She, of course, kisses him because he has tears coming out of his eyes. They wind up having like a really magical night. It wasn't Um, it wasn't about him commanding her and owning her, getting her power. You know, it was like making love, and she really liked that because she got to feel, that passion from him. So for her, it was beautiful. Um, there was some realizations in her mind as well because she realized it's a good thing she didn't mess with him those first 6 years because it would have destroyed her headspace even more so with him, you know? So that's good because, there's a lot of regret on, not necessarily on her side because she kind of tried to let him know how she felt. She didn't say it until the after the 6 years, but throughout, he knew she felt something, So there's no regrets on her part, but he's had a lot of regrets. It would have messed up her headspace, maybe even more so his as well. Um, yeah, that's a good thing that they didn't do that. We also find out when she showed up in that alleyway, Shadows had only been open for a short period of time, but when it opened, it was like this instant success. And I don't know if it's people coming after him now, if that's something to do with that. We know it's a scorned woman. Is it someone from the beginning? Because when he came out here to California, it was because he was trying to start over his life. And who's to say what type of beast he was? You know what I mean? Because he can be such an asshole. So who's to say? And he went through so many women. So who's to say? The problem for him now, though, as he's sitting there with her, is that Liam and Rain complete him. Like they make him whole, and the idea that he could lose them, it's wearing on him even more so. I do feel bad for the dude. So the next day, they go to the doctor's office, and this is the first time that Mason's been there because he's been letting Liam do all the legwork when it comes to Rain. So they're in the waiting room. You got a bunch of pregnant women in there. They're looking at her judgy, and they get up to leave when they hear their name, and someone whispers, well, maybe one's her friend and the other's her, the dad. And so she turns around and she says, no, both of them are my men. So then they go back to the OBGYN, and I forget the doctor's name, but she's just like, oh, good to see you, Mason. Like, because it's her first time seeing him there. They heard the heartbeat, beautiful moment. It again starts to weigh on Mason. He tries to pull himself out of his ass. There was a phone call, but he didn't answer it. So they leave. They go to like her favorite pizza joint because she's been craving pizza since she's been pregnant. And she also needs to put some weight on her because she's lost 4 pounds. And so she needs to put more weight on her. So they go, they eat there. And then Bryn takes Rain to go buy stuff for the nursery. And Duncan's going to drive them around. And so Mason and Liam then talk. Now, Liam is starting to kind of hone in on his gift, his reading of auras, okay? He's starting to do that. And he can see, however you want to put it, Mason is wanting to do something to keep them safe, to keep them out of harm's way. And so he's terrified of what's going to happen. So after they listen to the message from Sterling, Sterling lets him know it's bad. The feds are coming for you. They want to charge him with, I forget what the charges are, but the state will almost definitely pick up the rape charge if the federal, if they can't get a conviction. It's apparently based on the November 4th video, which is the one that shows, I think that was the night he took Rain the first time. And you got to remember, he's biting her. He's doing all this type of stuff. It doesn't look, because I think at first, remember, she did tell him no, but then they kept going at it. So yeah, that's not that video is not gonna help him. And our boy Mason decides, well, he doesn't want Rain going on the stand. And Liam just kind of tells him, how do you think you're going to keep her away from the stand? Honestly, how do you think you're going to do it? He was like, no, she can't do it, because if she does, they're going to rip her to shreds. No, we're not going to do it. But it's like, listen, she's already getting judgment for the type of relationship that she's in with you all. Okay? And so, how do you really think that's going to work? The person that they're saying you did rape, you're not going to put her on the stand. That looks like you did it. It looks like if they put her on the stand, they'll break her and she'll admit to it. Again, he doesn't think. He really doesn't. He doesn't. But they are going to talk to Rain that night, that evening when she comes in. They'll have a conversation with her to let her know what's going on. And I guess he's supposed to also tell her about the thing of her not being able to testify. I don't know how that's going to work, but like Liam said, you going to have to tell her that, because I'm not getting involved. Mason wakes up. He's made a decision. It is the wee hours of the morning, and he's decided he's going to leave. So he goes downstairs to the garage, and here are his choices. So he's got his key, he's got his passport, and he's got his keys to the Audi. So he's either going to go to Indonesia, Nepal, somewhere where they don't have extradition laws, or he's going to drive 180 miles per hour and just end it all. So when he opens the trunk to the Audi, he sees some shoes that Rain had left. It breaks him, because he really doesn't want to leave these people that he loves so much. And he winds up taking the tire iron and just like banging the window, just bashing the thing in. So Liam comes out, and Liam goes, you really thought you were going to just off yourself and just leave us? So he is clearly opening himself up to the gift, because he saw exactly what the choices he had put before him. And Mason's like, how the hell did you know? And then Bryn comes out, and she also knew what was about to happen. And he's like, how did she know? You know? And she gives him some like earth shattering news. She tells him Juliet is with you now. And Mason thinks she's just saying that because she's trying to get him, they're trying to get him not to make this decision. She tells the story from the wedding night where he hurt his toe. No one knows that story but Juliet. So now he's convinced, okay, her presence, she is here. And a lot of things come out. Juliet suffered from depression and schizophrenia. She never told him about it. She had attempted suicide twice prior to meeting him. Okay? She was taking medication for it that kind of handled, the chemicals in her brain. And when she got pregnant, she stopped taking them because she didn't want them to affect the baby. So once she did that, reality, things become distorted, right? They're not clear anymore. She regrets offing herself. She regrets the suicide, but unfortunately, it's too late. Because he had kind of wondered, like, where did she get the pills from? Not knowing she had depression and schizophrenia. The baby was Mason's. She knew it was his. She apologizes for saying that to him. The whole bullshit about I don't know who the father is, and that was a part of why she did it. So a lot of things to help him stop blaming himself. She apparently also guided Rain to that alleyway because she knew Rain would be able to help him, and he would be able to help and save Rain. Because I guess he needed someone to save, being that he couldn't save her. He needed someone to save. Him hearing all of this stuff, it kind of kicks him into the thing of, I need to fight. Like, I've been putting myself in this self-imposed, oh gosh, what do we even call it? like this prison of the mind, basically, you know? And the mom tells him, Bryn, but we'll call the mom, she leaves him because she's like, I need my beauty rest. And him and Liam have a conversation. They decide they shouldn't tell Rain. It'll stress her out too much if they tell her. Um, this is the one time I kind of agree with them with this one. She's already stressed. That's affecting the baby. It hasn't affected the kid to where it's being detrimental to the child, but if you were to tell her that he was thinking about offing himself, she would check on him like a hawk. She would worry nonstop. And I kind of get with this one because normally I'm like, y'all need to be honest, but this is something where I'm like, okay, this is trying to protect her because this could have a bad effect, a really bad effect. Not you think it would, because she loves you so much and she will do anything to try and protect you and keep you alive. And her thinking for a moment that you wanted to leave her, it'll crush her at the same time. It'll make her doubt how you feel. It has a lot of repercussions, though, that action. So in this case, I agree with them. Normally I don't. But this time I do. I do. So then we switch to Liam. It's later that day. And Rain, she's out. I'm not sure with who though. But Sterling, the lawyer, comes over with some news. They still don't know who the star witness is. Technically, the AUSA doesn't have to reveal anything until like before the trial. So it can be like 2 days before. It can be the day before. They could present that information. So that's still a problem. He had some somber news as well for Liam. He's like, Gwyneth, who's in prison, remember, she got into an argument with another prisoner over some pudding and they shanked her and she's dead. Mason leaped up and Sterling is looking at him like, what the hell? And Mason's like, ding dong, the witch is dead. Like, that's how he reacted. And the poor lawyer is like, what the hell? Like, you celebrate, And then Mason was like, no, she is the one that handed over Rain to the father to be done whatever to. So I could care less about her. And then finally Liam was like, good riddance. Like, he was done. He didn't care at all. He was done with her. Like, now he didn't have to worry about 5 years or 10 years from now her coming back trying to do something else. So for him it was relief. It's fucked up because it's a life, but for them, her death is relief. They're going to try and get the tape tossed out just because it should be inadmissible because it was stolen. So he's going to try, but it's still a mountain to climb. So then we switch to Rain's POV. Her, Seth, and River are looking through files. They're at Shadows. They're coming up empty. And she had an idea. She's like, you know what? We need to revisit Marley. So she goes to the security room. They're standing outside. And she knows November 3rd and 4th are gone, but she's like, maybe she can get that November 5th date. So when she goes in, the security guy, who wasn't even supposed to be there, I think his name's Lewis, he just kind of stares at the women, and she knows that. She knows he probably treats this place as his personal porn hub, but whatever. So she bends over, but she like bends over towards the door so her ass won't be in his face. He tells her that he's seen the video where Liam plowed her ass. He watches it a lot. Thank goodness it's on the cloud. I'm like, what the fuck? And she was just kind of like, what the hell did you just say to me? Because he tells her, like, if you ever need to be fucked when Mason leaves, I'm here. And so she's like, you're fired. He's like, you can't do that. He's like, oh, I can. Or I can call them right now and tell them what you just said to me. Which would you prefer? So he gets his stuff, slams, and leaves out. She tells Seth and River what happened, and thank goodness she waited because both of them would have like ripped that guy's head off. So then they look at the video, and she's like, "We need to find her." And so Seth is like, "I can find out where she is." So Seth also agreed to watch the security since she just fired the security guy for the night for the day. So he's like, "I'll do it. Don't worry." He's like, "You just need to put in a good favor with me with Heavenly." And she's like, "No problem. I'll do it for you." Well, she's got a plan. So she has bought a maternity dress when she was out with Bryn, okay? And it makes her look more pregnant. They found out where Molly's going to go. She goes to like this dive bar to have a drink. So she got herself together and they took her there, okay? So she didn't want to tell Liam and Mason because it's just going to be a fight. They're probably going to wind up saying no, and that's not what she needs. So eventually she was able to get River. River easily was like, "Oh, I'll go with you, no problem." Seth was giving a little pushback, but he caved as well. So River's like, "They don't like me anyway, so you know I'm not going to say anything." So they stand back. She goes, sits right next to Marley, orders a club soda. So then Marley sees her and is just basically like, "Who are you pregnant from, the Irishman?" And she's like, "Well, honestly, I don't know. It could be either one of them. I'm with both of them. We live together." And she was looking furious. And when she had said we're living, we're happy together, she made the comment, "You're not that happy. And so why would you say you're not that happy except if you know you've done some shit?" So she leaves from there and she goes to the guys and she said, "It's her. Let's take that bitch down." Here's the original plan. River and Seth were going to do a threesome with Marley. River was open to this because he realized, I guess, being around these people so much, he doesn't have as much freaky experience as he thought, okay? But Seth is too crazy about Heavenly. He's like, he's not going to do that. So now it's just River. And he's fine because he hasn't had any, he says, in a little while. So he's down for it. So they've already bugged his room and set up the recording devices, the cameras, everything. So they can get all this shit on tape. So he's going to go up, do the whole spiel. He puts on his uniform. He goes downstairs to the bar. Sure enough, he sits by her. She's immediately attracted, immediately on him. They do a little back and forth flirting. And even 5 minutes, she ready to go upstairs to fuck. So she does the whole, "I don't really do this normally." And he's like, whatever. So she's kissing him. They get in the room. He says a statement that starts it all off. He's like, "How in the hell are you single?" And she's like, "I know, but my ex, he's just stupid. He fell in love with some trailer trash whore and all this type of stuff." So then afterwards, she just starts telling him everything because it's been killing her to tell someone what she has done. So she's like, "Yeah, I found a way to get back at him." And he's like, "Well, don't keep me in, suspense. Tell me. And she says, "Well, I might have had the AUSA. I think his name is, I forget his name. I forget his name. But what she did is, the AUSA, he's married, okay? His wife just had a baby, but he has needs. So 2 days a week, she's been sucking and fucking him, okay? Well, she also sucked off the guy, Lewis, to get the evidence, the tapes. And she took those to the AUSA and she's been pushing him to go after this case. And because he's he getting the pussy he wants, he's doing it. Okay? So she's like, "That's what he get. He should have never left me." I'm like, you did all of that. So River still was gonna fuck her, okay? But he put on 2 condoms because Seth had said, "You need to put 2 on with her. She done fucked everything that walks." So he's fucking her, and then Seth calls him and he's like, "Finally." He's like, well, I'm late. I gotta go to the Medal of Honor banquet. Well, she doesn't realize that shit is not done in LA. It's done in DC. Okay. And so she says, well, afterwards, just find me at the bar. She's so stupid. So anyway, they leave. They have enough. And I'm like, the AUSA, he's stupid as fuck because he ain't finna have no job. And his wife, I'm quite sure, is gonna leave him because it's like, you do not have a job because you were fucking some woman to pursue a case. Oh, but I don't feel bad for him because he's stupid. Ain't no piece of pussy worth that. Like, come on. So Rain was right. She thought it was Marley. She figured it was Marley, and that's exactly who it was. I thought it was Marley for a brief moment, but I was like, nah, she ain't gonna be that petty. Like, but she is. Rain's pacing back and forth, right? Liam and Mason are looking at her like, what the hell you got going on? You know, what have you done? She's like, I'll explain, I'll explain. Everything will be explained. So eventually Seth and the lawyer Sterling come. Uh no, it wasn't Seth. I'm sorry. It was Beck and Sterling. And so they're like, they don't know why, but Rain told them to come, so they're there, okay? And then eventually Seth and River show up, and they're like, what? And Rain just gave them the DVD and was like, this should hopefully be enough to take care of everything. So Bryn takes her up because Bryn, you know, psychic, but she knows what's on that goddamn tape. And Rain doesn't want to see her brother fucking. So they leave. Well, they pop in the DVD, they see Marley, and he was like, God damn it, it was her? And they knew she was vindictive, but he never thought of her for a moment. So then they see the bullshit play out, and then Sterling says the problem is she didn't say any names. So Seth was like, I thought that might have been a problem. So he waited outside of the Ritz Hotel. He found out credit card information where Wellington, that's the AUSA's guy named Wellington. Found out where his, you know, where they were going, saw the charges twice a week. He knew that was it. Got the receptionist or the person at the front desk to tell him what room, told him, and he stood outside the room, and sure enough, they come out kissing, he's grabbing her ass, all this type of stuff. So he gets the photo, and he's like, well, this should help, you know? So Sterling calls the judge, and he's like, I'm going to need you to get some warrants together for Marley, I forget her last name, and AUSA Wellington. And he's like, I've got something to show you. So then they go upstairs, Liam and Mason, because it really will be over. And Rain, of course, is like, did it work? Did it work? And they're like, according to Sterling, it looks like I'm gonna get cleared. A few hours pass. They finally get the call from Sterling. It is over. The judge chewed out the detectives, all of them, from trying to push this bullshit along. He's got the arrest warrants out. Um, they're gonna pick up Marley, and everyone are just, it's tears. Everyone's happy. Everybody. So they get a call from Dean, and he's like, he's going to be the one making the arrest on Marley. He knows where she's going to be at because the AUSA was going to go and meet her after he had put his kids to sleep. So they've already picked his ass up. So he's gone. So he's like, how about, you know, dinner and a show? So they go to this restaurant. They get the banquet in the back. They're all there. And he's like, what I'll do is I'll get her, and then I'll bring her in front of you, and I'll arrest her in front of you guys. And so that's exactly what they do. As soon as he brings her back, he puts her hands behind her. He tells her she's arrested. And she's like, what are they doing here? She finds out River is Rain's brother. Liam goes off on her, tells her he hopes she meets the same fate as his wife. And she's like, what fate is that? And they're like, she got shanked. And then Hammer goes off on her, tells her, you know, how vindictive and awful she is, all these things. And Rain slapped the shit out of her. And she's like, arrest her, arrest her. And Dean said, I didn't see anything. So she's like, this isn't over. And they're like, oh, yes, it is. It's over. And I think Rain even called her some type of bitch or something. So it's the next day. and it's Mason's birthday. So he's calling for people to come over to have like a drink or something because Liam's parents are leaving the next day. And everybody was busy, which kind of bummed him out. But then we find out it's because they're throwing him a surprise party. And that really warmed his heart. It was beautiful. Everyone was there from the club. Heavenly was there, River, everybody's there. So a lot of guys were looking at Heavenly and they were around her, and River was like showing off his scars and stuff. And everybody was trying to throw their shot at her. And they gave him a great gift, Rain and Liam. They got him this car. It was this new Audi, the one he had been looking at. And he was so thankful for that. And what else happened? When Liam went up to Rain, not Rain, I'm sorry, Heavenly, he sensed a little darkness with her. So he's like, he's gonna be have to be sure to tell Seth and Beck about that. You know, it's gonna be a rough, a rough ride with that one. I'm like, oh shoot, what secrets does she have? Um, the judge is there. He's talking it up with one of the guys from Shadows, who is I think is a lawyer too. We find out the judge didn't like, was it the judge or was it Sterling? I think it was Sterling. I can't remember. But the judge did not like AUSA Wellington, so he was happy to give out those warrants and get rid of him. And the judge also was like, after looking at the video, he needs to find him a woman that can drop to her knees and give a blowjob like that. I said, oh my gosh. um, Liam then also chooses to make a confession at this party. So he tells her how originally his what he wanted to do was make Mason jealous, so that would like kickstart him to like, you know, how do we say it? Like act in his feelings. And he was like, that was the initial, like that was what I meant to do, but the minute I kissed you, it was over for me. She felt some type of way for just a moment, but she got it together because she had to remember she had told this man that her heart would only belong to Mason, so can't really get that mad. So she was all right. Liam says his parents are leaving, but they're coming back when she has the baby. So it makes him a little sad because he was liking having his parents there, but they'll come back. It's the next day. Liam goes to take his parents to the airport. Rain was cleaning up, making sandwiches, and Mason comes in, grabs her. They start kissing, and then Liam comes in. He joins in. She's like, "Wait, no, 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 no. Let's go for dinner for your birthday," because this was his actual birth date. So then he tells, well, they're at the restaurant and they're talking, and they ask her about marriage, and she's like, and they say, "Well, if you could marry us both, would you do it?" And she said, "Of course." But I can't. They said, "No, no, 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 no. We just need to know if it was possible, would you do it?" And she was like, yeah, if it was possible. So then they go home. They did some kinky stuff, like they made her take off her underwear and stuff while she was in the car. And she told them she wanted to try rope. She's been working through some things in therapy. So they go home. They use the rope. She's okay. She was good. Um, I guess they love their rope. She agreed to a wedding date of September 7th. She's supposed to have the baby in August, but she thinks that baby's going to come early. But again, she told them she was ready for it. And that's what it should have always been. It should have never been them asking her to do it. It should have been her coming to you saying, I'm ready. Because you kept thinking it's too soon, but then you still ask her. Just saying. So we fast forward. The babies did come early. She was pregnant with twins, Sierra and Catronia, Catronia, Katarina. I don't know. I'm going to say Katarina. I don't think that's it, but I'm going to call it that. They had a commitment ceremony and also a collar ceremony. Only this time she didn't get fucked in public. Because River was like, if y'all gonna do that, I gotta go. They surprised her with the trip. They're gonna take her to Paris immediately. She is already pregnant with Mason's this time. So when they found out she was ovulating, her and Liam, he made sure like her and Mason just had time together so she could get pregnant from him because the twins are his babies, which I think is nice. And I do like that because I feel like he loved her. The minute he felt he loved her, he wanted her, and he went after her. He didn't try and put her through a bunch of hoops and bullshit, you know? So I'm kind of glad he gets the first, and he gets two babies. I like that. I think that's sweet. And twins and stuff, I think, runs in his family, so it makes total sense that those would have been his babies. Um, they also are like, well, you need to marry one of us legally in case something happens, like the situation at the hospital where no one could go back because no one was family. So they're like, at least one of us. So they decide they're gonna. She said, well, I can't decide. They're like, well, we'll make the decision. So they're gonna do it by flipping the coin, and we never find out. You know, maybe if we keep reading the books for the other couples, we'll find out. But they don't tell us who won the flip. Liam said head, and Mason said tails, so we don't know. We just know she states it doesn't matter who it's gonna be. You know, she belongs to them, and they belong to her. And that's how it ends. So there's another set of books. I think the first one's called The Choice, but it's Heavenly's story with Beth and Seth. So that's another series that details their thing. So, you know, if you want to dive into that one, I think I might. I won't do it on the channel, but I think myself I'll just wind up reading it. But what did you all think of this series? This is probably the longest video I've done. But it was so much stuff that was going on, and I still left out a lot because you just can't cover everything. It was a bigger book. But I really liked it. I thought it was good. The thing about them that irked me, it was just them feeling like she couldn't handle anything. The last thing they kept from her, I agreed. Because I didn't feel like she could handle it because she was in a state of being fragile with the baby and stuff. So it was kind of like, don't add any more to it because you was about to fall apart. So that I agree. Maybe years down the road you can tell her, but I just didn't. I agree with that. But all the other times they just kind of irked me. Um, they wanted this dom submissive relationship, but it never felt like the others that we've read in other books. You know what I mean? Like that complete domination, complete control. It's like this was a different type, and it's like they turned it on and turned it off to me. But then always expected her to act in that. It was just weird to me, that dynamic. But it also shows you can make your relationship whatever you want it to be. Whatever's going to work for you, that's what you can make your relationship. So that I like. That's cool. What did you guys think? Let me know. Drop down in the description section and let me know. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and the links are going to be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.